So for the past 2 or 3 months, where have you been spending most of your time and energy? What have you been focusing on?
Technology and the team. So these are the two key factors I think will influence the future development of one project. So we enhanced our management team. We have the technology team enhanced. We have our marketing team enhanced. We also have our industry adoption team enhanced. So in the past 2 to 3 months, the first priority is to make sure we have the right team to do the right thing. And the second is technology. So we have been looking for the right person to be the CTO for Fusion for quite a long time. Very soon you will see who he is, and he will be leading the Fusion to move forward. Not only this version of Fusion to make sure our Fusion network, Fusion public blockchain will go live soon, and he will lead the future research and the development in for our roadmap in the next 6 months or 9 months and even 18 months.
That's great. And in your opinion, how is the mainnet development going?
So far, led by the technology leader, I think we are in a pretty good shape, and we have a very great idea how to make it forward. I think I would encourage you to stay on tune because we have a very interesting program about to announce in the very near future. I believe all of you will be excited because I'm excited, and all of the function, including we will have the DCRM function running in parallel on one distributed network, and all of other functions on the mainnet public blockchain. But we will have it running in a very interesting way. And all of the function. I have to mention that everyone in Fusion community, you know that we have some problem developing the hybrid consensus, but so far in this version we try to just use the POS because we only need to generate the regular blocks. But at the same time, we will keep it in our roadmap as well because sooner or later we will have the lock-in and the lock-out block in our public blockchain. So we are still working on it. But for this version, yes, I think everyone will see that what's our current progress and be ready to have it.
Mm-hmm. So is there a time frame for the testnet going live? I know that with the CTO coming aboard, that was a key piece to moving everything forward. And his job is, as you described, to put this plan together. Do you think you're ever going to announce a hard date again, or are we just going to be working with reasonable timeframes, and as those dates come closer, then announcements will be coming out?
The only difference between the testnet and the mainnet is that whether we have our Fusion token to be book the ledger in our own chain, and whether the people you are really motivated through the reward we set, you will see we will be using a very creative way to make it running, and we all will see that this will be the first in the blockchain world as well, just like our IOC method, right? And the length of the testing, I think it depends on if we see any risk or if we see any bugs. If we have it running for a while, but we haven't seen any bugs, all is good, then we will switch to the mainnet immediately. But if we see the bugs, that definitely we cannot allow any bugs on our mainnet. So once we announce the way how we have our network tested, you will be excited that we created a very innovative way to have the mainnet to be tested, to be running in the proper way.
All technologists care about testing and to release, really good working product. Nobody wants to see bugs, but it seems like the gravity of the situation with Fusion is so high because we're dealing with money and there's already assets committed to Fusion. And so even getting those assets onto the Fusion mainnet cannot happen until it's bulletproof.
Yes, exactly. I can give an example. For our DCRM at this moment, we only encourage the people from the community to try to experience how to lock in the testnet of Bitcoin to be on DCRM distributed network, and how the Ethereum testnet can be logged in on DCRM distributed network. But on the next phase, we're going to have people to lock in a limited amount, and then more amount, then switch to like no limited. So this is this is a kind of different phases. We try to enter into this phase steadily and make sure nothing will go wrong.
What types of skills were you looking for in particular for a CTO? What's most important to you when you are hiring the team? Especially, you were just talking about the team being so critical. What were the things that you were hoping to find?
As a CTO, first of all, without any doubt, he has to have the right skill set for the technology, not only for the blockchain, but also for the financial infrastructures today. And we also hope that CTO is not a kind of professor, because if we are only talking about technology, and the technology will do no good to our current world, then that will not work. So that's why we hope the CTO to be very sensitive to the real business world and how we can use the technology to work for the real business. So this is the requirement for the CTO. I think it will be the same as other projects to build a product. So Fusion is a protocol. Yes, it is right. But what we're trying to build is try to build a product which can be working for the real business world. So this is the key.
And it seems like this whole idea of finding your staff and your team, building your team, has all been in this direction. If you look at Charles's experience, he's very financially focused. He understands how that world works. Now you have the CTO who's centered in on that intersection between tech and finance and real world. And it seems like this has been your idea the whole time, is now that you're set on finance, you're finding these people to fill in the gaps and to be able to execute on this vision.
Yeah, exactly. So we target Fusion to be the bridge between the technology and the real business world, between blockchain and finance. So we need to have the people to act as a bridge. That's why we try to recruit the people in the market to, we hope they have the capability to be the bridge, no matter between the blockchain world and the finance, the technology, and the real business world.
And the old and the new, right? Because a lot of these banks and financial institutions have legacy systems that they're not going to change right away, but they do want to start going toward the crypto world, crypto finance, and having people who understand both that origination and the current state of finance, but also where it's going, is really critical as well.
So the world will not change just in one day. we need stepstones, and we need the something in the middle to make it move forward. So don't try to imagine fusion can change the world just by one day.
Yeah, exactly. Have you found it difficult to find talent? I've heard a lot of other projects talking about, the talent debt out there right now because blockchain is so hot. Everybody's looking for coders. Everybody's looking for people who have some experience in this world. Have you found that as well in China? Or is there more talent there that you've seen for working on blockchain?
Yeah, there are more and more talents in the world, in the whole world today.
Mm-hmm.
Not only in China, but also we see a lot of talents in East Europe, in South Africa, even some people say there are no technology people in South Korea and Japan, but we see some. We see a lot. They grew and they become more and more experienced. So yeah, Fusion is trying to build a financial infrastructure in a distributed way,
Mm-hmm.
and we will have our team in distributed way. And somehow, management for the distributed organization is a little bit challenging, but this is what we need to overcome. And we need to have our the whole organization to be flexible to manage the distributed team in the whole world.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that having a distributed team, while it has its challenges, also has strengths? Because if you're having people from different places, different expertises from different places, it would seem to me that you could learn lessons quicker or have input from certain geographic areas or situational awareness that if you had a centralized team, you might not know.
Yeah, exactly. And the distributed team also help us to open our mind, open our eyes to the whole world, not only sitting in one room and keep developing. So we get to know what's happening in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
On the east side, on the west side, everything is moving quickly. The market is shifting quickly, and we see the technology is evolving quickly. So we need to get ourselves to be updated for the latest technology. So that's necessary.
So, what are you most excited about in terms of Fusion for the next few months?
Oh, a lot. People they said Fusion has been quiet for 1 month or 2 months, but everything is moving forward, and we see a lot of very good progress. Um, One of the key things I want to emphasize here today is that, starting from early this year, the market was going down. So it's very important for a startup project to uh, think it over what our strategy is. Will it be the same, or we need to shift a little bit? Because you know, we see a lot of very big companies. They just bankrupt in half year. So it's really very risky for a startup especially when the market is shifting so quickly. We need to think it over. So uh, based on our current strategy, I think we are very clear where we are going, and that's why, to answer your question, for the next couple of months, we have a lot of things to interact with the community, to let the community know, and have the community to participate, like no matter the DCRM and the mainnet, testnet. Maybe we cannot call it a testnet because you will know we will run it in a very special way.
Mm-hmm.
To have all of the function to be tested.
Yeah, the test net is going to be something quite different than most people expect from a testnet, and it's really exciting. There's a lot to look forward to. The community will be very surprised and excited, I think.
Yes.
Let's talk about stablecoins for a minute. It's a hot topic these days. You mentioned Gemini is a project that's doing good work. You tweeted about them the other day. And can you elaborate on why you're keeping an eye on stablecoins and why you think Gemini is doing a good job in particular?
I'm not sure if you have noticed that Fusion kept letting people know that the importance of digitization. Digitization is the first step to put everything on the blockchain. We all know that the current business world, they are all based on the fiat currencies, no matter if it is a US dollar, or euros, or RMB, anything. But in today's business world, the problem is that we can base on we can base the business on the fiat currency, but all of those cannot be programmed. So once we see the company like Gemini, they try to digitize the US dollar to make it a stable coin. That means that coin can interact with other type of assets like tangible goods with the support of Fusion. And in that way, we can have all of the business to be automated to make it programmable. So that is the most amazing part for the stablecoin.
When you talk about programmable, some of the community members or your audience doesn't know exactly what the potential of programmable means. We use it as a term all the time, like, yes, it's programmable money. Bitcoin is programmable this, programmable that. If you were to be able to explain programmable to somebody in your vision of programmable, what does that look like?
When we're talking about programmable, that means so we see what the program looks like. So in the program, there are a lot of code, right? If, then, while, like this, right?
Yeah.
All the code there just like this function. So in the code, it describes how the value is transferred from one place to another without any interfere of human, right? So that means all of the money flow, the cash flow, the value flow, the goods flow, they can be just written like a program. And in that way, a lot of human interfere can be diminished. And we see the cost definitely will be saved, and the efficiency will be extremely high comparing to current business processes. Right? So this is the programmable, and we can have a kind of program to run it. Not like today, we have to make a phone call to the bank to make the transfer, even if the goods they arrived the counterpart, right? And we also have to do it by ourselves. We also to rely on the human to make the transactions. Not like today, the Bitcoin, actually, you know, the Ethereum, we can write a program to make it transfer from one place to another, even for 1,000 times, just in 5 minutes or in 1 second, right? So this is a program.
STOs are emerging as a new type of asset class. Where do you think STOs are going in the short term and in the long term?
STO, you know, it's another type of digitization. It's just trying to digitize the shares, the stocks, right? Stable coin like GUSD, they are digitizing the US dollar, the fiat currency. As the security token, that means we're trying to use a kind of way to digitize the stocks, the securities. So today we see a lot of projects or startup companies, they try to raise the fund through this way in a compliance way, which is you know approved by SEC or other regulators in other countries. This is very good because in that way we can have the startups or even a listed company to uh, to be to be very easy to get funded. So I think it's really a very good thing. And previously, almost all of the projects always they only look at the ICO. They use the token as the utility token. But in today's um, juris, in today's different even the jurisdiction in different places, the company is a kind of entity running the business. So if we can have these STO thing to support the company to raise the fund, it's really very good, and it's really very helpful to have more creative ideas to support it by the fund and make it real.
Do you think STOs, the ability to issue STOs, is going to open up new capital streams in places where potentially these companies didn't have access to the same type of capital that we have in countries where the financial system is working? There are a lot of viable businesses that fall outside of working financial systems, but they don't have access to get to the capital to actually scale. Do you have any thoughts on opening up of funds?
Yeah, there are a lot of funds in the home office, right? No, family office.
Family office,
yeah. Family office. They are waiting to enter this market, but they're just waiting and to make sure everything will be ready, especially the regulations. So this is a very good breakthrough in the fundraising market to make sure the money will go to the right place under the regulations. So yeah, I do think so.
Let's talk about regulations for a minute. Right now in the U.S. especially, it's kind of a gray area. The SEC is not committing to very clear rules and regulations for cryptocurrencies. What would you like to see in terms of regulation?
Cryptocurrencies, it's to be honest, I really don't care whether cryptocurrencies will be regulated or not, because cryptocurrencies is I have to admit, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin opens a very interesting new window for people, for humans to look into the new world.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean the Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies are the destination. Right? So what I think in the real business world is they might be, most people today, they trust fiat currency more than cryptocurrency. Maybe they regard cryptocurrency as a investment tool or just like digital gold or something else. But when they see the volatility of the cryptocurrency, they always try to change it back to a fiat currency, right? So people's perception has not been changed. And this is the fact. And we have to admit that. Whether the cryptocurrency will be the future, we don't know. We don't know. But the value transfer, the value exchange has been realized today through the blockchain technology, with the support of fusion, So we can see in the future if two type of different assets, two different type of value, they can exchange with each other directly, like no matter the fiat currency with the tangible goods, or even the tangible goods with kind of financial instruments, or the tangible goods with an intangible goods at the same time. They interact directly. Mm-hmm. So we can see the possibilities in the future, right? So I really don't care whether cryptocurrency will become the mainstream or not in the future. That's just one of the steps going to the future.
Where in the adoption cycle are financial institutions and banks in terms of digitizing their assets? We know that this is the first step for modern finance to start taking place, especially on blockchains or even other systems beyond that. Where are financial institutions in your mind of adopting digitized assets, and then what comes next once their assets are digitized?
I remember 15 years ago, 15 years ago, people were used to take the physical photos using the DSLR or something.
DSLR,
yeah. No, but that is digital.
The regular film.
Yeah, the regular camera.
You're right.
Yeah,
right.
that is the regular camera. I had a lot of physical pictures at home, but 15 years ago, when I want to have one photo sent to one of my friends, the first step is to scan it and make a digital thing, right? Digital photos in my album, in my laptop.
Yeah.
Then I can send it through the email or in other way, post in my blog or something else, right? So this is the first step. Just like in the old days, the first step for the financial world today is to digitize their assets, no matter it is a fiat currency or a type of financial assets, derivatives, any type of assets. So we have to digitize them. Just like 15 years ago, we digitized the photos, right? Then we can have them sent through the email, post on the blog, do everything. But in the future, maybe I think the financial institutions, they will think about why not we create some digital assets directly, not try to digitize, not try to create a old school financial instruments and digitize them. So that's why Fusion has a kind of a very interesting function, time lock, to create the financial derivatives directly. Natively.
Yeah.
So this is the purpose of the technology of time lock. Maybe we will introduce more and more different technologies on Fusion in the future, but we can just regard this function just like a digital DSLR, right?
Yeah.
You can shoot a picture in a digital way natively, right? So this is how we see the financial institutions will do in the future.
It's interesting to think about what that will do for security and auditing and tracking when assets are issued natively. Because now, yes, there are some places that hold, these natively issued, well, not on the blockchain issued securities or bonds or whatever they are. But when you start digitizing assets that aren't controlled by like the NASDAQ or the S&P or, banks and this and that, it'll be interesting to see what that does for security for the everyday people who are starting to digitize their assets, not just businesses. What will be recorded? What will we know now exists out in the world that we don't know now is of value?
Yeah, so that's the change of perception. Previously, we go to some Photoshop. I mean the real shop on the street to take photos, right? Maybe 30 years ago. Then we have a camera in hand. But today, actually, you can create a digital photo just by using your own phone, right? You just take a picture and upload on your Twitter. And the amazing part of Fusion is that I think you can use the time lock by yourself to create your own derivatives. And that's really good.
Yeah. Let's see. Outside of Fusion in the world of finance, Completely outside of this, are there any blockchain projects that you think are doing really good work, and what areas are they working in, and what topics are they tackling with the blockchain? Are there any things that you just are watching and admire from an outsider's perspective?
Yeah, there are a lot. And each projects they are focusing on maybe some specific technology and a specific area. There are a lot of very good projects in technology-wise. There are some projects focusing on privacy. There are some projects focusing on how to integrate the blockchain with the regulators, right? And we also can see some projects they try to increase the scalabilities. There are a lot of different projects, different technologies. In today's world, I think the people in blockchain are very smart. So you already seen a lot of different projects. They are in top 10, top 20, top 30. But you also can find some gems in maybe in top 100 or even in top 200. Yeah, there are a lot.
What in the top 10? What is your favorite in the top 10?
In the top 10, I think I still like Ethereum.
Okay.
And sometimes the project technology itself is the not only not the only factor we care. We care about the team. We care about how they can improve the protocol continuously. And we care about how they can work together with the real business world. So, including the two projects, my company, BC, had incubated, and we see like Stellar. And by the way, there is a very interesting thing. I'm not sure if you have noticed that we see Ripple, Stellar. Actually, I don't see Ripple as a real blockchain project, but the market cap of Ripple really, when
it's undeniable.
Yeah. it performed really good. Right?
Yeah.
And the Stellar, they performed really good. I think the reason is that they focus on the integration of the technology and the real business. So I think I really encourage other projects not only focusing focus on the technology, but also try to think how the technology can be integrated with the real business world, how they can help the real business world, in which way.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some gems. You said that there might be some in the top 200 that you're keeping an eye on personally. Any names that you want to call out that you think they're up and coming?
No, I don't want to,
Yeah.
Some people, they will think this is a recommendation.
Oh, recommendation.
Yeah, investment.
Yeah.
I think we can communicate when meet face to face, and you can ask me how I think they are doing in terms of technology, in terms of how they integrate with the technology with the real business world. I'm willing to do that, but I don't want to recommend some.
You're not coin picking.
Yeah, I'm not coin picking.
I understand that.
And I have to say, even today we see the top 10, top 20. Maybe in 3 years, in 5 years, 90%, 95% of the projects in that list will disappear.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, just like, in the old days of when the internet age came, 95% of the company in 2090s, they disappeared today. So keep innovation.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the spirit. So we hope we can see more and more. And what we are doing is trying to have ourselves to be in the good shape no matter when. We try to move forward, try to survive, try to make sure we can be adopted. The technology can be adopted, and try to integrate the technology with the real business world.
Fusion is getting compared to Ripple. What do you think the difference is between Fusion and Ripple?
First of all, I think the technology is quite different. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Maybe when people ask me what's the difference between Ripple and Fusion, is because we both focus on the finance market. But to be honest, the technology in two projects are totally different. We are trying to solve the interoperability problem and how to create some tools to create a native financial instruments or something like this. But what Ripple is trying to address is the cross-border payment or something like this. So actually, when they say we are both focusing on finance market, but as a matter of fact, we're focusing on different angles, and we are focusing on the entire finance market, including the finance instruments, derivatives, all types of tradings. So I think what Fusion can do and support is much bigger. Is much bigger. I'm not saying Fusion will be definitely the right one.
Yeah.
But we are trying to be the right one.
Right.
But to be honest, the market we are trying to address is quite different.
With that, I think one of the things that a lot of people don't know is how wide-reaching the term finance means, because it can go, some people think it's just payments, some people think it's, loans, or other people think it's STOs and ICO financing. I mean, it's just such a wide range. Do you have any idea in your mind what slice of the pie of finance are you going after with Fusion? Is it a very narrow focused, or are you starting narrow and going broader? Kind of, what is your idea of how do you chop this up, because it's so big?
Yeah, but if you are asking me try to define what finance is, there are a lot of definitions. You can find it in the textbook.
Right.
But if you are trying to ask me to define what finance is, I would like to say the finance is about the value exchange across the space and the time. And this is a very broad definition. Fusion is trying to build an infrastructure to support the value exchange across space and across the time. So we will focus on one thing first, and we will start narrow and try to expand. This is the way to do business. But from the very beginning, we need to make sure our technology to be generic, to be foundational, so that we can support all types of value exchange across space and time. For example, payment is the value exchange across the space, right? A cross-border payment. I want to pay you something, so this is the value transfer across the space. And if we're talking about, but it is only limited to the fiat currency. But if we can solve the problem how financial instruments or derivatives value exchange across space, this is another thing, like bond or futures, right? And if we are going to solve the problem across the value exchange across time, then that would be a totally different market, the derivatives. So this is what Fusion can do, but definitely we will start from narrow and try to address one market first. But we encourage the market, if you see the benefit of the product of Fusion, we will encourage the market to do anything you can. By using Fusion protocol to provide value to different markets, insurance, derivatives, instruments, financial instruments, and everything, right? So what Fusion Foundation is doing is just to provide the infrastructure.
It's interesting, I've talked to you a couple times about where some of your ideas came from, your thought process, and this and that. And one of the things that I think the community would really like to understand that I've been able to talk to you about is how did you come up with this clever balance of, as you said, a generic protocol, but yet handpick the certain tools, especially with smart contracts and time, multi-token smart contracts, the tools that work on top of the infrastructure. How did you handpick those tools? Because they're very specific, focused on fusion, or on finance, excuse me. So you have this generic platform with this deeply embedded security layer, hard-coded differently than anybody else, into the, which is DCRM, obviously, into the protocol. And then you handpick these tools to create this specific yet generic platform. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing to me that you were able to see this. And I'm curious if you could talk about that a little bit, for other people to understand what the thinking process was. How did you do this?
That's a very difficult to answer,
Yeah.
This is a very difficult question. It's about philosophy,
Yeah, it's kind of philosophical, isn't it?
Yeah. And when we are trying to solve problem in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you need to find the common things in different problems. So that's why you remember I give you the definition of the finance. I told you that from my perspective, finance is about the value exchange across space and the time. Because I see no matter what kind of financial activities, the common thing is they exchange the value. In which way? They exchange value across space or in time. So we keep. I myself kept thinking, what's the root in common? And then we try to solve the problem in root, not the leaf. So this is the thinking I had. I'm not saying this is the ultimate thinking logic, but it really helps.
Yeah, I mean, people are obsessed with understanding the thought process of very successful people who really, are reaching for big goals, and for a lot of us who aren't there, it's like, how do you guys do it? What is the thought process? Because even understanding just a little bit helps the rest of us think, okay, so if we're thinking root causes, what is the outcome? What could be done in that way? And it helps inspire people.
Yeah, I can give you another example. So when people trying to solve the interoperability problem, I will think, why we need interoperability? What's the problem in today's financial world regarding the interoperability? So that's why I found the root cause is that in today's financial world, we always rely to have our asset to be kept in custody in a centralized organization. So if we can solve this problem, then the interoperability problem can be solved immediately, fundamentally. So we need to find the root cause and the key things for the problem. So yeah, this is how we did trying to find the root cause and try to build the correct platform or the most suitable platform, the generic platform for the future.
Interesting. So when you get feedback from people on your project, and as somebody who's putting their heart and soul into this project and you're turning it out to the world, what sticks with you more, compliments or criticisms?
Both.
Both?
I have to say both. Compliments means encouragement because sometimes people will see, when some other people they are doing another project in the same way, or people they think they steal your thoughts, they steal your ideas. Actually, that is a compliment, right? And that means your direction is right. So you need to move as quick as possible. And at the same time, we also welcome criticism. Like we need the people to let us know where to improve, because people cannot see the whole mountain when you're in the mountain, right? So we need the other people when they, if they can let us know where you are and there is another way to the top of the mountain, then yeah, that's really helpful. That's really helpful, and because I cannot see everything.